So, good afternoon, everybody. My name's Andy Wild. I'm the Interim Assistant Director for Highways and Transport at Shropshire Council. And firstly, thank you ever so much, Elcrig, for giving me the opportunity to come and share the story with you today. So, in terms of setting the scene, really, and beginning with the reality for us. So, as a council, we had often kind of put our hope in term maintenance contracts and not really, in my opinion, sort of considered the client side of it and what we needed to do and what we were trying to get out of the contract. And in 2018, we let the most recent term maintenance contract, which was probably, to be fair to say, mutually unfulfilling. I think there were big challenges in that early part, which we had to unpick and understand. And I think, you know, there was issues on the client side that we really had to look at. And did we actually let the right type of contract for Shropshire? Did we really understand what our drivers were, what our priorities were, and what we wanted to achieve, really? So I think it proved to be a difficult start. I mean, I was capital delivery manager at that particular point, but I could see there was cultural issues on our side and things that we needed to fully understand before we really entered into that. And it was no surprise that we stumbled and tripped, really, and had a difficult start. You know, on our side, the council, like most authorities, you know, had budget challenges, and we'd really stripped assets out of the council and skills and knowledge that we really needed to manage our arrangements and the service effectively. And that led to real problems, and I think we'd sort of really taken our eye off the ball in terms of really understanding what we were trying to achieve. And again, I think we turned our back on the community. We hadn't listened. We'd stopped engaging. We'd start having those sort of shaping and meaningful conversations that really helped us understand from the community's perspective what they were judging us on, and what really we needed to focus our attention on in order to get sort of the reputation from a highway service correct. You add into that, you know, the fact that the service had kind of lost its verve, and we hadn't got the arrangements correct, and then add in, you know, a significant backlog of defects, and you've got all the ingredients for a difficult day and quite a stressful environment. So that really prompted a rethink, a fundamental rethink, really, of how we were going to approach the service and what we were going to do and what our plan needed to be. So we had, you know, some real key priorities. We were absolutely certain that we wanted a stronger focus on reactive maintenance, quality repairs. We wanted to improve the underlying asset condition and focus our attention on quick quality repairs, invest more money in our drainage assets and some of the other assets that underpin the carriageway, and focus much more of our investment on longer term preventative maintenance, which generally for us is a stronger investment in surface dressing. And we felt that those things were going to give us a better focus. The document there, the Shropshire Plan, was very helpful because as much as we'd started to sort of engage again and listen to these community voices that were telling us, as much as it was painful, you know, really quite insightful information about where we should be planning and prioritising. But this document helped, you know, align ourselves with the council's voice in terms of what was the council trying to achieve, what were its key drivers, and the arrangements that we were putting in place and the service offer that we were trying to create needed to talk to that and link into it. And actually, you know, it was quite harmonious when we started to look at what we were trying to do. We weren't wildly out of sync with what the council wanted to do. And yeah, the community voices, you know, trying to really understand what we were doing wrong, what we hadn't really got right and focused on, and have those sort of meaningful conversations. It's been touched on a lot this morning about engagement and listening to what your customers want from you, and we've put real emphasis on that. And then the next big one is data. You know, you can't be an intelligent client without having good data, in my view. And we took sort of 2 years of baselining that data. And what that is giving us is a really, really strong body of information and evidence on which to base our decisions. So we've gone much further towards facts and less away from feel and opinion. And that's, you know, driving our sort of decision-making process. Okay, so in terms of the term maintenance contract, you know, what arose out of those shaping conversations was a new dawn for the service, better factual decision making, better alignment, and better belief from the team and on the council side about how we could operate and the part that we needed to play really in that process as a client, because I don't think we were setting the direction or giving our partners the strategic sort of view of the world in terms of where we were trying to get to. And we had some really honest conversations with our partners in those early years to try and really get a basis of understanding, a basis for learning and sharing, and that was done in a really harmonious spirit, and as we wouldn't have got to where we got to without kind of creating that environment. And a lot of what Frank said this morning really resonated with me, because I was sat there listening to it and thinking, you know, there was so much of what he said made a great deal of sense to me. So in terms of Kia, who are our term maintenance contractor, you know, we have a lot to thank Kia for, and some of the key guys are in the room here today because, you know, we all found that early process difficult, but through a shared ambition and a shared way of working, we've created a new offer which is not now starting to deliver for Shropshire. As you can see there, we've got the big term maintenance contractor, the strategic partner, which is absolutely essential for us in terms of delivering our ambitions and managing the asset. But we've also embraced some self-delivery. We've developed sort of in-house teams to start moving some of these areas that we want to prioritise. The more local, the more reactive it is. I think it's harder for a one-size-fits-all to work. And we believe that that mixed economy is what's going to give us the better outcomes in what is a really, really big rural county. And we've also looked at partnering with tier 2s and tier 3s and how that can work, again, in that Shropshire context where, again, some of the work, which is very local, lends itself to that sort of arrangement. And we're in the early stages of that. That's starting to come together, but we've developed some really interesting case studies and pilot projects. Okay, so the journey really, again, you know, I sort of take a step back and look at how far we've come in what is a fairly short period of time, and completely changed the fortunes of the highway service in Shropshire. And there's an awful lot of people that I need to say thank you to really for saying yes when we've said we would like to do this, we want to trial that, for the way that they've lent in and had the collaboration and the partnership ethos, which has helped us create what is a fundamentally different model that we're now working with. And you know, from an intervention perspective, we didn't have many options. We had nothing really between a pothole repair and a big scheme. Now we've got 7 different interventions. We used to do 90% of defect repairs at temporary. They're now 90% permanent. We've reduced the backlog from nearly 20,000 defects to down below 7. Drainage inquiries are down from 1,000 to below 150. NHT survey data is showing generally a 25% improvement in satisfaction across most highway maintenance activities. And we're in a completely different position in terms of perception because, you know, we've tuned in, we've listened, we've had the difficult conversations, and we've now started to produce what is a really different model, which is making huge benefits to ultimately the people we serve, which the people of Shropshire. So what we've also done in terms of trying to get the pieces of the puzzle together is look at, you know, the blend of options that we've got across that space. And some of the options that we've got were looking to Elcrig and utilising firstly Project Amber, but then being the first authority to trial the IPS, which we've been delighted to take part in. So that really there is just a snapshot of kind of how we were set up. We were very traditional in terms of a client team. We had a term service provider, professional services provider, which is WSP, and the term maintenance contractor Kia. And we worked in that sort of, that alliance model. The box doesn't show it, but effectively the client team has been developed. We've increased the size of the client, we've brought in new skills, and we've tried to get to a point where, you know, we are much more of an intelligent and informed client with a clear plan of what we'd like to achieve. and with the support and the skills of our partner organisations, which, as I said, we work extremely well with. We are now shaping a different operating model, which I think is going to give us a blend of skills, resources, capability, which will meet the ask, because it was touched on this morning, one size doesn't fit all, and I think that's very true. What we have got to do is create, the model that's going to help take us forward now and create space. Okay, so this is my kind of final slide really, but this just shows the route that we used for the trial on the IPS. Now, any local government colleagues in the room will know that local government is not the easiest place to manoeuvre sometimes, especially when you're dealing with procurement and finance. But we were able to have some really meaningful discussions with our procurement team early on about the fact that we wanted to get involved in this trial, and we wanted to sort of see what it could do in terms of helping enable some of the mixed economy ambitions that the council had. And as you can see from the timeline, we went from to delivering that within 2 weeks. Once we'd put the package of work together, we procured that really quickly, and it's a really good fit for us in terms of sort of that mixed economy model that we're now working to. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, Andy. So thanks to Shropshire for being willing to put their hand up, for L. Craig to use the word trial. Now, I should probably tell you who I am. I'm Jason Sprague, as Martin said. We've had the joy of the past couple of years bringing together what Martin sold me on was, in essence, building the Amazon marketplace for highway services, and it's become much more of a bespoke project. So very proud that we've been able to get this off the ground, and with Shropshire and industry support. So I'm the good news guy. The IPS is ready. Crown Commercial Services, Steve Sopp, who's in the room, he has been instrumental, along with his colleague Sandra, in bringing it together. So before I delve into it, let me tell the industry. You said you saw the August bit. So many of you have said you're getting yourself there. Let's finish off and join the IPS. Council members, next week we get to tell you more. So where did the IPS begin? Well, first and foremost, going back to Martin, the idea is, how do you buy innovation if it's not comparable as a category to something else? So the biggest thing is that there's a huge cost. Every single head of highways is frustrated with their procurement being able to buy that special one-off solution, call it a trial, whatever you might be, but this is completely compliant with the 2015 legislation and allows you to buy on 100% quality, so it's fit for purpose against your requirement. And it's allowing you to access things that are ready and proven to scale, but are unique in the market. The scope is national. It's across the breadth of the sector. We've rolled out and focused on road surface, but there'll be many categories yet to come. And it's open to every council, every public body, and it's in partnership with Crown Commercial Services. So it's designed to be as cheap and functional as possible. So we don't have very few procurement people in the room, but the goal is to make sure that they're entirely happy and have to spend the least amount of effort to buy what's necessary for the highways asset. So wrapping up, if you're a supplier, and thank you to Highways Workforce and Multivo, they were folks that answered Shropshire's call and had come through and are actively involved in the project in Shropshire context, and there's many others that have expressed interest. I've had the conversation today, what do we do? If you're an L. Craig member, which I'm sure you are, log in. Martin, myself, and Carrie have a lovely taped webinar on there. Watch that, and if not, call me up and we'll walk you through it. Now, for our local authority colleagues, October 11th, 11 o'clock, you'll see this face again in a little box on your screen. By all means, please send your procurement folk, your heads of asset, heads of service, and we can talk about the particulars of using the IPS. If you're interested, and apologies for those that have expressed but I've not yet spoken with, by all means, go to the LCRIG website, click on the IPS and put your details in about what innovation you're looking for. Going back to what Martin said earlier about building a repository, that's the beginning of our repository of what's worked, who needs what, and where is it going to go next. So slowly we'll develop that, and then we call it the LCRIG front door. Quite important. So I'm here for the rest of the conference. You'll find me at the coffee break upstairs next to the IPS banner, but by all means, do hope you'll ask further questions and come find us when you have a need for buying innovation. So thank you very much.